welcome back to Spotlight with Abhijay. Alright, can you imagine our life without electricity? Without telephones, computers, internet, cars? Oof, it seems crazy right now to think of a world without all of these. Yet, just a few decades ago, none of these even existed. And there was a time when we thought the earth was flat. But thanks to science and all the relentless efforts of our scientists, we're enjoying all the miracles of science and technology. Well, it's important for us all to learn science. It's an essential element in daily life, right? And today, I'm going to shine the spotlight on an amazing science teacher, Mr. Michael Romano, who made a huge positive impact on so many students and has been selected as the finalist for Presidential Awards for Excellence in STEM Education. And I'm thrilled to say that Mr. Romano is a teacher from our local high school, Acton Boxborough Regional High School. Mr. Michael grew up in New Jersey and graduated from Boston University and Harvard Graduate School of Education. Coming from a family of educators and with his passion for teaching, he joined Acton Boxborough High School in 2007, teaching biology, chemistry, marine biology, and environmental science. Over the past 15 years, Mr. Romano not only focused on STEM education for kids and actively participating in several science experiences, but also spent summers working in research labs. He was also selected for the Einstein Distinguished Educator Fellowship in 2017 and 2018, and was also part of the NASA Space Camp too. Mr. Romano is selected as one of the finalists for the Presidential Award for Excellence in STEM Education. Sounds really inspiring, right? I was definitely thrilled to hear about all these accomplishments and so proud that he's from our school. Can't wait to talk to him on my show today. Please welcome Mr. Michael Romano. Hi, Mr. Romano. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
Good morning, Abhijay. It's so nice to meet you. I'm doing really, really well. I'm glad to be here.
So, first of all, congratulations for being selected as the finalist for the Presidential Awards for Excellence in STEM Education. So, how did you feel when you heard about being selected for one of the nation's highest honors for teachers?
I was thrilled, honestly, and also very humbled. You know, it was a really exciting announcement, and I worked really hard, I think, as a teacher to try to get to this point. But what I'm really most proud of is just the ability to kind of talk about some of the great things we do in school and some of the great things we do, teaching science. And so I'm glad we have an opportunity to do that today.
That is amazing. And it's a proud moment for all of us from Acton Boxborough School District.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So you've been in the education field for over 15 years. Can you tell us how your journey began in this field and why you chose this profession to be a teacher?
Absolutely. So I actually knew that I wanted to be a teacher from a really young age. My dad was a teacher growing up. So, seeing him as a role model and seeing what he did, that was always really exciting to me. Now that I'm actually a teacher, my younger brother, he's a teacher too. So we kind of have this family of teachers. It was always something that I just thought was exciting and fun. And what I love about it is the ability to share something that I'm passionate about with other people and then find out what it is that they're passionate about. And if it's science or STEM, that's great. But even if it's not, trying to help young people figure out what it is they want to do with their lives, I just find really fun and rewarding. And I just love doing that every day. So that's what I wanted to do for my career.
Well, of course, teaching is the profession that creates all other professions. And
That's true.
It's a noble profession that shapes the future. So there's so many subjects: math, language arts, history, geography. Why science? What made you choose science as your subject to teach?
I just find it so exciting and so relevant. Everything that we do, everything that we are, what makes us up as humans, what makes our world up, that's all science. And all of these discoveries that we're finding out to help us advance society and figure out how to solve all these different problems, that's what science is and what it does every day. So what I love about science is the ability to understand really who we are and answer those big questions that the world needs answers to.
Yup, science is fascinating. And from self-driving cars to Martian rovers to light-controlled brains, science helps us create things we haven't even dreamed of. So yes, it's really important for us all to learn science. But sometimes it might be complex to understand, or they might not be interested in science. So how do you find ways to engage them or make it interesting for kids to learn science?
Sure. Well, let's start with the complex part, like you mentioned. Sometimes science is complex, and sometimes it involves math, which sometimes people think is hard too. Math really is, though, the language of science. So I think it's really important when we talk about STEM, bringing in engineering, technology, and mathematics to help us understand science. I think that's all really important and really great. But everyone can do it, even if it's complex. We just need to break it down into smaller steps. So whether I'm teaching biology or chemistry or environmental science, that's what we do. We figure out what are those initial pieces that you need to know or understand, and that builds us up to the bigger, more complex picture. And in terms of finding things or ways to make it relevant and interesting, that part is actually, I think, really easy and exciting. We use labs and experiments. We want to show kids that doing science is a hands-on pursuit. And it also takes place in the field. So we need to leave the classroom sometimes and go outside, or some of the research that I've done, we need to go even further, like to the ocean, for example. And so by bringing all of those experiences into the classroom and showing kids this is what you can do, that's how you make it interesting. And that's what we try to do every day.
Right. It's important to learn the practical applications of all the concepts we learn. And as the saying goes, better than 1,000 days of diligent study is one day with a great teacher. And you are that amazing teacher, instilling the love of science in kids.
Thank you.
So apart from teaching at the school, you're also part of several learning programs and summer programs, exciting expeditions. Can you tell us all about it?
Absolutely. So right from when I started teaching, I knew that one of the best ways to be an effective teacher was to show students that, hey, I do this in my daily life and I do this during the summer, and we all need to be immersed in the field. And so some of the cool things that I've done, like you were alluding to, include being an educator at sea. So back in 2013 and 2014, I was working on an oceanographic research ship called the EV Nautilus under Dr. Robert Ballard, who's actually pretty famous because he's one of the people who discovered the Titanic shipwreck. And through that expedition, I was actually working in an oceanographic research lab, helping the different explorers discover things from brine pools to deep sea hydrothermal vents to shipwrecks. And I bring those lessons back to the classroom. I've worked in research labs as well. One time working with C. elegans, which is a really cool nematode, and figuring out how that could help us understand cancer. And in another situation, working with polluted water and trying to use electrochemistry to remediate it. I also spent a whole year working at NASA. So I was what we call an Albert Einstein Fellow in 2017 and 2018. It's where teachers leave the classroom for a year and move to Washington, D.C., and they spend the whole year trying to work with education policy and programs to make science and STEM education better for the whole nation. And I was placed at NASA, both headquarters and Goddard Space Flight Center, which was really cool because I got to work one-on-one with scientists and engineers trying to work on and improve their education programs, scheduling downlinks where we actually talked to astronauts on the International Space Station. I was planning events in the White House and all over Maryland and Washington, D.C., and that part of the country, really training teachers on how to teach science differently and better, and how to use NASA materials to engage students in the classroom. So through all these different opportunities, I try to bring those stories in. And even if it's a biology class, we're going to talk about space because there's really interesting aspects of biology to be found in space. And anything that relates to science is something that can help us really appreciate our world. students have the ability to go do this work too. And I think that's one of the most important parts, is showing everyone you can be a scientist. You just need to go out and pursue that science.
Yeah, that sounds super exciting. And I was reading about EV Nautilus in Wikipedia and all the awesome ocean exploration expeditions and how it helps with hands-on learning experiences. I wish I could be on one of those expeditions someday. It's really cool. Really amazing how you're bringing all of those learnings back into your teaching. So, Mr. Romano, you're also raising awareness and speaking at various venues about living kidney donation. And you have a very heartwarming story about your kidney transplant and the donor being one of the teachers from AB as well. Can you please tell us more about it?
Absolutely. So back in 2013, I found out that I have a genetic condition called polycystic kidney disease. It means that my kidneys grow these cysts on them, and as time goes on, my kidneys don't work as well. Now, as many of the viewers probably know, your kidneys are really important for filtering the blood in your body, and they help keep you healthy. So if your kidneys stop working, that can cause some real problems and really affect your life as a whole. And so I needed a kidney transplant. I needed someone to donate a kidney to me. So I actually used social media to try to reach out and see if anybody out there would be willing to donate a kidney to me. And after this long search, it turns out one of the people who was a really close genetic match was one of my really good friends, Ms. Genevieve Hammond, who teaches at ABRHS with me. And so she became my living kidney donor. We had our transplant in the fall of 2018. And after a few months of recovery for me, it was actually only a few days for her, which was really great. We were back out teaching, doing what we love, but then also, like you said, spending our time together, going to try to educate others about living kidney donation. And I can do that in the classroom because I'm a teacher, which is fantastic. But we also found ways to go out into the community and do that. So whether it was through the local newspaper or through WBUR and some of their different podcasts and speaking events, or even at conferences, we're really trying to share with the whole world that this is an opportunity where you can really help people. And being a teacher, I think it is really great to sometimes bring your personal life into the classroom, because if students can see that you're not just a person standing in the front of the room teaching, but you're also a real human who experiences lots of different things that your students might be experiencing too, you can really help educate and spread the word. And I think that's a really powerful part of not just my kidney story, but education as a whole. I think that's what it's all about.
Yup, Miss Hammond is really a superhero, and it definitely takes a lot of courage and kindness to be able to do that. And thank you both for raising awareness to help more people and save more lives.
Definitely.
So, Mr. Romano, one last question. What is your message to all the kids watching this show?
Well, I think that what it is that science and STEM are so important. Much of the content that you put out there really helps to support this as well. When I was a kid, and even sometimes in the classroom today, on the first day of school, I have my students draw a picture of a scientist. And most of them draw a picture of an old white guy with crazy hair and glasses. And that's not really what a scientist is nowadays. Scientists are very diverse and represent all of these different countries and backgrounds and all genders. And I think it's really important for students to know that regardless of what you look like or what your experiences are, you can do science. It's what we need, is a world full of scientifically literate people who can go out there and help us understand our world better. And even if my students don't want to become biologists or chemists, that's okay. It's important to understand science to help understand our world and ourselves. And what we really need is a society full of people working together to do that. So that's my message, is to get out there, find that area of STEM that you love, read about it, watch movies about it, and then go out there and do the science that's going to help make our world a better place.
Yeah, I remember when I was in RLP, my teacher, Ms. Montmany, asked our entire class to draw what you think science is. And people drew like a bunch of cans and tubes going through cans and magnifying glasses. So yeah, I really relate to what you were talking about just now. So a good teacher can inspire hope, ignite the imagination, and instill a love of learning. And Mr. Romano, Your passion for teaching and your way of motivating and engaging kids makes you a role model. Thank you for being that exemplary teacher and shaping the future of so many kids. We're all cheering for you to win the finals for the Presidential Award for Excellence. You truly deserve that honor. Thank you so much for joining me on my show today and taking us through your inspiring journey.
Thank you for having me. This has been awesome.